Now that you've witnessed the magic of how community sound amplification happens, prepare yourselves to come in, be together. Take a moment to look around and see who you're here with. Say hi, give someone a smile as we hear this sound of the chime bringing us together and grounding us here.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Huntington. I'm Leah Zaberby, President of the Board of Trustees and today's Worship Associate. If this is your first time with us, you don't need a neat explanation of what you believe in, or don't. We don't all land in the same place theologically, but we're not just here to agree to disagree. We're here to practice a faith with a backbone, dignity, truth, and love that shows up, especially when it's inconvenient. We draw wisdom from a wide range of places, not as a buffet of opinions, but as working tools, lived experience, science and scholarship, poetry and music, the world's religions, and hard-earned wisdom of movements of liberation and repair. And we test what we claim is true by what it produces in real life. Does it widen our compassion, sharpen our integrity, and move us towards justice? Today's service is called Spirituality as Looking Closely, not as in staring harder, but as in paying attention on purpose, especially when the world is loud and frantic and trying to train us to stop noticing. After the service, join us across the hall, in the social hall, for coffee, conversation, and our monthly potluck. If you had no idea, come eat anyway. That's what community is for. And if you're looking for a friendly face or wondering how people get connected here, you can start with me, Reverend Israel, or anyone wearing a name tag. A few quick announcements before we begin. The Long Island Immigrant Justice Alliance, an interfaith group, has announced a series of second Sunday prayer walks. The first will be held this afternoon at 3 p.m. at the Central ISOP Courthouse, where detained immigrants have been housed in crowded and unsanitary conditions. Please consider joining people of faith and more conscience in a public witness for immigration justice. And there will be events for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day on January 19th through Abraham's Table at the Suffolk Y JCC, culminating in a service at 2 p.m., as well as an MLK Day celebration at the Bethel AME Church in Huntington at 6 p.m., presented by the NAACP Huntington branch. The keynote speaker will be Frederick K. Brewington, Esquire, a well-known civil rights attorney. Also today, we welcome artists Joanne Ferrante and Craig Marta to the UUFH Art Gallery, which is just outside the doors that you entered through. Enjoy their beautiful oil paintings and watercolors for their opening reception from 12 to 2 p.m. today. And for many more activities, look in our weekly e-newsletter that is delivered into your inbox every Thursday. And if you don't yet get it, sign up at uufh.org. We light this chalice, symbol of Unitarian Universalism, as a small, steady refusal. A refusal to let cruelty become just how it is. A refusal to let the human story get edited out. A refusal to surrender our attention, our conscience, or our tenderness. May this flame help us look again and tell the truth with warm hearts.
In a world that rushes us, we choose to slow down enough to notice what is true. In a world that numbs us, we choose to stay awake. In a world that tells us who to fear and who to ignore, we choose the neighbor lens, Today we remember, see with all of our senses and look again, so that what we might notice might change how we live. You thought I lit it, yeah. If you couldn't hear that over all the noise, today is about paying attention and looking again with all of our senses to notice how things truly are, so that it might move us with compassion towards the places where the world is breaking and already broken. Let's sing now. Rise in body or in spirit with all of your heart to sing, "Wake Now, My Senses." Please be seated. Let yourself settle in. I want to tell us a story today from my own life. And to illustrate that story, I brought something very powerful with me today, and something that has the potential for harm and both good. It's my phone. Something that spends a lot of time with me and is very useful. One of the most useful things about it is that it functions as the remote control for the Roku TV at my house. That might be perhaps the most powerful use of it today. And the reason I brought it is because over winter break, my house watched the same movie so many times that I started hearing the soundtrack to it all day long in my head and in my sleep, and out of my kids' mouths. That movie is a movie called K-Pop Demon Hunters. Okay, all right. Fabulous music. This isn't a story per se about that movie, and if you haven't seen it, it doesn't matter. And if you haven't, actually, I encourage you to go see it, but it's also this isn't an ad for the movie either. But the movie is about demons and those who fight the demons, but really about how what is behind the demons lives inside everyone. But I think it's really a story about how power controls people and separates people. And it's kind of one of those big, loud, animated stories where the heroes and the villains are supposed to be easy to sort. But it turns out it's not always true. So at one point, my kid was trying to watch, we were watching part of the movie that we had seen probably dozens of times by that time already. And she was trying to figure out who was good and bad in the story. The way that kids want to do about the world. They want to sort it to make sense of it. We all do that too, not just kids. But then she said one of the kind of things that kids say when they're trying to find their safety inside of an uncertain story. I'm going to take this off for a second and see if that helps. Trying to find their safety inside of an uncertain story. And because she noticed that one of the characters, who was clearly labeled a demon, did something gentle. Not perfect, just kind of gentle. And showed that maybe there was something more to the story. And she didn't argue with this. She didn't try to debate whether or not this person was bad or good. But she grabbed the remote. Took control of the situation in her own way so she could hit pause. And that's what she did. She stopped it, the movie, and she hit rewind. And she went back. She went back. I wish I could figure out why this is happening. I'm sorry. She went back and she hit rewind. And she said, I don't know. I don't think it's that simple. Maybe he's kind of good. He just did something nice. So that act of pausing, not of necessarily thinking that harm is okay. That's not what I'm talking about here. But the act of stopping when the story wants you to believe one thing, and you see with your own eyes, or you perceive, are you hearing me? Yeah. Okay. And you perceive in your own way, whether that's intuition or paying attention to little things, little interactions between people. You perceive that in your own way. That's what I want us to practice this month and be more aware of. What it means to take a moment and stop and pause and pay closer attention. When we're being rushed into a verdict, we can rewind. When we're being trained to stop noticing, we can look again. So here's the question for you today, all of us. If you could put one remote button on your heart this week, what would it be? Pause, rewind, mute, volume down. Or do you pick up the pen to help author a new story? All of those are allowed. None of those mean stop caring about what's going on. They mean care on purpose. All of us need this. So if you can practice one button this week, just one, maybe try rewind. When you feel yourself deciding fast about a situation or a person or someone, hit rewind. When you hear a story that is being told in a way that makes a person disappear, their humanity disappear, pause, rewind. When you notice that you're becoming hard, pause with someone. Let's try to practice that together this week. And let's start by sharing what's on our hearts with each other. We come now to the time in our service called Moments of the Heart. When you came in here, you received a card. This is one of the ways that we practice together being a real community, not just a room full of people, where we make space for what's true in our world and in our lives, our joys, our griefs, our sorrows, our worry, our gratitude, the names that we are carrying on our hearts and prayers that we, on our hearts, that we don't have words for. So if you received a card and you'd like to write something down, something that you're carrying that you want named in community today, you can do so and bring them up in a moment, and we'll read them aloud for you. You're invited to light a candle, just a small reminder of the light that we bring together. If you need someone to come grab your card, you can always raise your hand and we'll come get it for you. Come on up. As I start to read these, I invite you just to notice the candles, the lights, and to take it in not as a way to fix anything, but as a way to remind us of how light can grow, of what it means to be together, of how our flames, our passions, our hearts can do something more than any one of us. Our first card is a reminder, as we witness what's on your hearts today, is a reminder of that. Thankful for all who resist. Thank you for being a place where I belong, says this card. Where we're reminded of the things that lift us up. Joyful celebration for Shel Lipiski's successful heart valve transplant. Quick recovery, Shel. Let me say happy birthday to Connie and Allison. Are they both here? A reminder that as life goes on, we have a responsibility to pay attention. Please make the cruelty stop. For Renee Nicole Good and her family, may they find justice and peace. Justice for Renee Nicole Good. Rest in peace and power, Bobby Weir. Thankful for all the beautiful music. I believe that art has the power to effect positive change without throwing a single punch or firing a single shot. If you have the impulse, know now is the time to create and to create fearlessly. I pray we can peacefully, thoughtfully, and creatively resist and protect ourselves and our most vulnerable neighbors in this scary time. It says Dylan. Is that a Bob Dylan quote, or is that just this person? Thanks, Dylan. Our first grandbaby is on the way, due in June. The D'Orazio family would appreciate positive healing thoughts this week as Carolyn's mom continues to fight an infection in her spine and heart. She faces a possible surgery this week for the heart abscess. More prayers for Renee Nicole Good and her wife and children. A reminder to say her name and honor her meaning. Renee Nicole Good. Believe your eyes, not the lies. Renee Nicole Good. Renee Nicole Good. And this reminder here, this last card that I have here, that no matter how hard you think things are, no matter how impossible you think the situation, that everybody has something to bring to the table. Let's take one breath together now. Let's just feel yourself in this room, your feet on the floor, yourself grounded. Remember your breath. That slow, steady thing that's keeping you alive, giving you courage, feeding you. Let your shoulders drop if they can. Let your jaw unclench if it will. Some of us are carrying love that feels full on this day. Some of us are carrying grief that feels endless. Some of us are carrying fear or anger that's been sitting in the body all week. Some of us are simply tired, trying to stay decent in a time that keeps testing what normal means. Whatever you brought in here, you're not carrying it alone. If there's one thing you remember before you leave this room, that whatever you are carrying here, you are not carrying it alone. There's other people out there fighting for the same things, going through the same personal struggles in their own way. Other people out there for you to help you when you need them. So as we're in here this morning in this room, a simple prayer this morning, a simple intention. May those who are hurting feel held. May those who are celebrating feel welcomed, not guilty. May those who are anxious find one steady breath this week, today, every day. May those who are angry stay clear and human. May we notice one another and what is true, and let that noticing move us to care. Let's hold that intention in the silence for a moment. Let's sing together, Spirit of Life, and remain seated. As a reminder of this intention, to use this beautiful gift of life, to notice its beauty, and to let the ways that the world is broken give life the shape of justice through our hands. Anyone who's going off to religious education programming is invited to go now.
Poet laureate Amanda Gorman was inspired to write a poem this week. It's called For Renee Nicole Goodman Killed by Ice on January 7, 2026. They say she is no more, that her absence roars, blood blown like a rose. Iced wheels flinched and froze, now bare riot of candles, dark fury of flowers, pure howling of hymns. If for us she arose, somewhere in the pitched deep of our grief crouches our power, the howl where we begin, straining upon the edge of the crooked crater of the worst of what we've been. Change is only possible and all the greater when the labor of bitter anger of our neighbors is moved by the love and better angels of our nature. What they call death and void, we know is breath and voice. In the end, gorgeously endures our enormity. You could believe, departed but to be the dawn, when the blank night has so long stood. But our bright fled angels will never be fully gone, when they forever are so fiercely good.
Almost lost it. This thing is useful and powerful for a lot of reasons. And this week, I think in some ways it has made a very hard week worse in some ways for me. Not only because of what happened, and I don't want to downplay that, I will talk about that more, but here's what I want to say first. The thing that is most concerning to me is how quickly we're being told what it all is about, how quickly we're being told what it all means. The fight to control the story after something big happens, after something violent happens, is almost always a fight over the story about who gets to control it, who gets to speak, who gets framed as a threat, who gets framed as doing their job, as following orders, who gets described as a human being, and who gets turned into a problem that needs to be managed. That's why learning to see is so important. It's how we keep from being trained into acceptance of something that is unacceptable. This week, as you may know, in Minneapolis, a woman named Renee Nicole Good was shot and killed during an ICE operation. And I almost want to stop there, because that's where the edit started. One version of the story gets told like this: an incident, a confrontation, a tragedy. An investigation is ongoing. A lot of passive voice, if you haven't noticed. A lot of careful language that makes it sound like a thunderstorm just rolled through and regrettably someone died. But the clip that's been circulating, the video, if you could bring yourself to watch it or at least read about it. Maybe we just need a reminder today of what we're living under. But the clip that's being circulated doesn't just show a thunderstorm arriving. It shows human beings. In that clip, she's not an angry human being that's screaming. She's not raging. She's not depicting some cartoon image of a demon that we might want in order to feel comfortable with. You're hearing that, right? Okay. Okay, let's try again. Point being that there is a narrative being developed of a demon in that story, in that video. But that demon speaks calmly to an agent through her open car window and says, "That's fine, dude, I'm not mad at you." And within seconds, she's no longer able to speak. And this is what's so important to name, because it matters deeply and spiritually. There is a way that institutions learn to watch suffering that is not normal, that is not human. There's a way that our system is training us to watch suffering that is not human. A kind of trained, professionally, emotionally refrigerated way of seeing. A kind of seeing where the uniform is the main character and the dead person becomes background story. A way of seeing where fear is treated like almost as a permission, and the rest is complicated. So if you want to understand what power does and how it tries to keep control, just think about how quickly, pause and watch and pay attention to how quickly it tries to control the humanity that we are allowed to see. Look again. I'm not here to do a cable news segment to explain the news to you. That's not the point. To report the news anyway. But I want to say, in my own way, why I think what's happening has shown that a corner is being turned in some way. And what it really is, it's the shamelessness behind these actions. The shamelessness. This week we've heard imperial language, the language of conquest, said out loud with a straight face. We've heard talk of running another country like it's a business project. We've heard talk about acquiring another country as if nations were real estate. We've watched the Corporation for Public Broadcasting formally dissolved after being defunded, which isn't just a media story, it's an are we even allowed to share reality anymore story. And in Minneapolis, we watched a killing get turned almost immediately into a PR exercise. These are different headlines, but there's the same impulse, the same muscle memory moving through them. From the top, normalize it, cool it down, keep them busy, and keep moving so they can't pay attention. Because meanwhile, your actual life does not pause for the apocalypse of the week. The sun still comes up. Kids still need rides. You still have to answer emails. Your body still needs sleep. And the most important part, you still love people. You have to feed. You have to be with. So what happens is not that we stop caring. What happens is that we start adapting. And that's where it becomes so dangerous. Because there's a kind of adaptation that looks like resilience from the outside, but on the inside is maybe just numbness wearing a responsible person costume. I'm not here to judge anyone. That's not what this is about. This is me naming something I see myself doing. Look again. This is where that movie moment with my kid really made me pay attention. Because after she hit rewind, we ended up in this conversation. It was a conversation I wasn't prepared for. The kind kids lead you into when you're not really paying attention to your own defenses, let's say, where you're just being open. And she asked basically, how do you know who the good people are, who the good ones are? And I wanted to give her a nice answer. I wanted to hand her the neat map that I had been taught maybe in school as a kid. The good people look like this, if that's even a real... These microphones weren't designed for Italian-American hands. Okay. I'll keep them here. So I wanted to give her the answer that I've rehearsed, that our society rehearses. I wanted to hand her a map and said, there are good people and there are bad people, first of all, because I don't even believe that as a fact, as a basic fact. But the good people look like this, and they're usually the ones who are running things, because they're there to care about everyone else. And the bad people look like this. The people in charge are probably the heroes. The story makes sense if you sort everyone fast enough based on what uniforms they're wearing. But this week makes that kind of parenting fantasy impossible. So instead I said something closer to the truth. Power doesn't automatically mean good. In fact, it usually means the opposite. Or at least when power is trying to hold on to itself, that's a bad sign. In fact, sometimes the people who insist with the loudest that they're the good ones are the people who are invested in trying to stay unaccountable for the bad stuff they're doing. And then I watched my kid's face do what kids' faces do when they're offered truth instead of a neat bedtime story. Some grief, confusion, a little anger, and a little, well, that's kind of annoying, but okay. Because that's the kind of world she's growing up in. And here's the part I also didn't expect that maybe you need to hear too. Kids, and whether or not you have kids, this isn't just for people who have kids. This is for ourselves, honestly. We all need to know that we are protected from danger. Kids don't just need that. We don't just need that. They need us they need us to protect them from meaninglessness, not just danger. And what I mean by that is they need to know that adults can still tell the truth about the world and still live, still love, still laugh, still build, and still show up for the neighbor in the ways that we have the capacity to do. They need to know that we haven't given up. And we need to know that too in our own hearts for ourselves. Because if all we're showing is that the world is a horror show and the only honest emotion is despair, then they're going to inherit not only a mess, but our collapse. And I don't want to hand anyone that, any next generation that. So look again. So what do we do with all this? Because I said this isn't about judging anyone for feeling despair. How do we keep... Thank you. How do we keep looking closely without either burning down into rage or checking out into distraction? This is where I feel like I should be using the word hope right now, but I can't dress up anything with certainty today. I can't promise you that the system will correct itself, because it's not designed to do that. I can't promise you that the courts will save us. I can't promise you that the arc, the moral arc of the universe, will keep bending the way that it's supposed to. But what I can tell you this: if you can stand on enough of each other's shoulders, we might be able to reach the arc and pull it down a little bit. Because we're all a part of something bigger than ourselves this week, as we always have been. Not bigger in a don't worry, it'll be okay thing, kind of thing, like someone else will take care of it. Bigger than the ocean is bigger than any one storm kind of way. Bigger in a we belong to an interdependent web of people. In history that did not begin with us and will not end with us. It's not just, I'm not just trying to make you comfortable. What I'm trying to say is that we have to start looking at the future as an investment in work that we may not complete ourselves. Our job isn't to fix everything in our lifetime, and to even be certain that things will be better at the end of our lifetime than they were at the beginning. But simply to pay attention to what we love and the chapter that we're in, and to speak truth to the shit that is happening. And I don't mean investment as just a buzzword here for this conversation. If you've ever cared for someone, the reason I told you this story about my daughter. So if you've ever cared for someone, doesn't matter if it's a kid or not. If you've ever loved someone, cared for someone through an illness, held a marriage through a hard season, or kept showing up for a friend who was falling apart, you understand this idea of investment in something that you don't see immediate gains on. You've poured yourself into outcomes that you couldn't guarantee. You've done work that nobody applauded. You've repeated the same acts of care until they became part of who you are. It's not weakness to care and to keep trying. That's the most real form of power most human beings ever touch. And it's the kind of power that we need now. Steady, stubborn, relational power in the pockets that we can find it. The kind that can keep a community alive. So here's some thoughts that I want to give you today. Some practices that I want to give you today that will help you do those things, I think. First thing, pay attention, yes, but don't forget to use the edit, to refuse the edit that we're being given by the top. When you hear a story about violence, notice who disappears from it. Notice the passive voice. Notice how quickly the focus shifts to the feelings of the person with the weapon. Notice how quickly the victim becomes a subject or a situation. Notice how we're focused on one white woman who died, but there are several people who have died in ICE custody already. Notice how quickly the victim becomes a statistic or a subject. Bring the human being back into the frame in all of these stories. Say their name. Tell the truth in plain language, not because you're trying to win an argument with anyone else, but because you're trying to keep truth alive in your own heart. Because you're trying to keep your conscience from being managed. Second, don't let outrage steal your whole life. I'm not telling you to calm down. This isn't yoga hour. This is pay attention hour. I'm saying don't let the cruelty take away your ability to love the world. Because the cruelty is not only what happens to people, it's what it tries to turn us into. If every day you only ingest horror, your heart will either harden or break. And neither one of those things is going to help your body or help the greater cause. So pick one practice that keeps you human, and not self-care, not a self-care luxury, but something that helps you to remember you're human. Some people might call it self-care, but I'm calling it today just a way to remind ourselves that we're human. There's a reason that music is often part of protests. Music that helps you remember you have a body, or a walk where you actually look at a tree. And like it's alive, because it is. Which helps you to see the life all around you and the life that needs protecting. A conversation that isn't a performance with someone. A meal with people where you laugh. Being able to laugh isn't denial, it's just oxygen. Power wants to snuff out that oxygen. And third, or I'll say because justice work without oxygen becomes either martyrdom or bitterness. And third, figure out what those long-haul investments you're going to make are. The ones that will outlive you. And pick one and keep showing up in the ways that you can. Whether that's supporting immigrant defense and accompaniment, because right now fear is part of policy. Supporting institutions that protect shared reality, because propaganda thrives when truth has no home. Support local efforts that build community protection, not just community outrage. Anyone want to say some of those out loud right now? Say it again. Hannah? Tell us what Hannah is.
Huntington Action Network Against Hate.
Huntington Action Network Against Hate. Any more of those that we want to remind people about today?
Family Service League.
Family Service League. Engage Long Island. The ACLU. What? Grayson. National Day Labor Organization Network. My point being, and you can keep saying them, keep sharing all this stuff. My point being is that there's power in the room already. Power to rewrite the story. The things that you choose to do don't have to be heroic. Maybe someday they will be. They just have to be repeatable on scale, as much as these edits to the story are repeatable on scale. And it could start with one call, one donation, one meeting. one ride, 1 hour of childcare for someone who needs it, one person that you check in on every week, one place you put yourself, your body, where you're not supposed to be, because love is there. That's why we start with the human side. One place you go that you're not supposed to be, because love has called you there, and then do it again. That's how you become part of something bigger than your individual lifespan. That's how you become a link, not the whole chain, a link. Look again. Yes, things are cracking. Much of what's deserving deserves to crack. Some stories were built on denial and someone else's pain, and they need to fall apart. But don't confuse this. Don't confuse the end of a comforting story with the end of meaning itself. Meaning is what we make of our attention. It's what we protect with our bodies and our daily actions. It's what we pass on to our kids and our descendants, whether or not they are our kids. Not because it's optimism, because it's a stubborn, steady practice that we can do. Truth-telling. Tenderness and the refusal to look away. So if you're feeling disillusioned, that doesn't mean you're failing, it means you're seeing. And the seeing is just the beginning right now, it's not the end. So this week, when the captions show up, when the euphemisms start, when the story tries to shrink and edit out the human, look again, keep the story in frame and keep telling others. And keep building what you love, even if you don't know how it's going to end. Let's sing now with that commitment that we hold in our hearts. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit.
seated. We come now to the offering. This is one of the ways we practice shared responsibility. We keep the work of this fellowship going, and we share our resources beyond these walls. In some seasons we give more, in other seasons we receive more. Either way, you belong here. No guilt, no pressure. Each month we also share the plate with the community partner. This month our Share the Plate partner is Rural Migrant and Migrant Ministry. I'd like to invite Jennifer Brown to share a little bit about their work and why it matters.
Thank you for having Rural Migrant Ministry be part of your split plate this month. My name is Jennifer Rogers Brown. I am the Foundation Relations Director for Rural and Migrant Ministry. And as you heard from Reverend Israel, it has been hard to hold up hope in this past year. But part of our core mission at RMM is to work with farm-working, rural, and immigrant communities in New York State to build hope, justice, and empowerment. And we do this through various different programs. And you heard about one of them a little while back with Juana Cortez de Torres, our director of the Immigrant Legal Rights Project. We started that this past year, and wow, this was very much needed. It is growing in the numbers of cases that our director is handling, in helping immigrants who are dealing with being deported. And for instance, she spoke about the Cato raid, where 60 to 70 people were arrested out of a nutrition bar factory. But we're seeing this here on Long Island as well. And it is an increasingly growing problem. So we're working on legal issues, but also legislative issues. So you may be hearing some of that in the future from us at RMM. And I also wanted to mention, in that aim towards breaking down, to say that the government is breaking down some of our systems that used to actually work towards helping people in our communities. And a large part of what RMM has done these 45 years is to confront unjust systems. We want to see a better world. So sometimes that means seeing those systems in place and the structures in place and finding ways to make sure that everybody has access, because there has been so much inequity. And sometimes it's recognizing what's not working and building something better. So one of those avenues has been our program with building a credit union. It is a community good federal credit union. We've done this in partnership with the Episcopal Diocese. It was started with a commitment of action from the Clinton Global Institute. And so this credit union is actually now up and running. And it works with our financial equity program. So we have a dedicated staff member who goes to all of our 4 centers and also online provides workshops and one-on-one meetings with people to help them learn about how to build their own credit and how to understand finances and things like that. And she's working with the credit union staff also to make sure that this is accessible for anyone, that anyone feels safe to start a bank account, that knows how to get access. So that's a big thing that we are trying to build more of this year, because it is an essential foundation that can help everybody. So I thank you so much for donating and for supporting us. The fellowship has been a great partner for many years. I actually learned about RMM by attending a movie showing, I think, 13 years ago here. They showed food chains, and the Long Island coordinator at the time, he came and spoke about it and showed it, and I was here, and I thought, hey, that looks really cool. So I joined. And all these years later, after being board president and all of that, I am now on staff. I really see it as a wonderful organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. So the ushers will now pass the baskets, and you can also donate on our website and through Realm. And thank you for all of your donations and the work you do within and beyond these walls.
I wanted to share one more thing you can do this week. We have an Authentic Selves book discussion group happening here, which talks about, which is the UUA common read that all Unitarian Universalists have been asked to read, and it's about authentic selves. It talks about gender identity and expression, and it's very important for all of us to learn about that now, especially when we have stories, counter-narratives being developed already. And so it's important for us to educate ourselves about that too. And who are the people who are organizing that you can talk to if you want to find out more information? There they are. So as we leave here today, may we leave here, I hope we leave here, with clear eyes, as clear as they can be, and unarmored hearts, as unarmored as they can be. I hope that we are stubborn about the truth and gentle with one another. I hope that we can figure out how to refuse the edits that make people disappear, so that we can keep choosing the long work with enough joy to stay alive inside of it. I'll extinguish our chalice now. It goes out. But this practice, this stubborn, relentless practice does not, cannot, must not. You got to carry it with you into the week.